Hello, everyone. This is our fortnightly backdrop outreach meeting coming to you on Thursday, July 7th, North America, thereabouts and other locales. As is our practice, we'll start with introductions from everyone. I'll introduce and then each person on the next. I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California. Pass the baton to Joseph.
I am Joseph from Las Vegas, Nevada. And Martin.
I am Martin from United Kingdom.
Tim.
We're all very brief today. I am Tim, St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And yeah, we're getting ready to talk about Backdrop Live, I think, today. Today is our outreach meeting. There have been a couple of things going on outreach-wise. We have some Gogo, if I'm saying his name right, is been working on some graphics for Backdrop Live that we've been chatting about in Zulip. If anybody is following that or interested in taking a look at those, go ahead and look for them in Zulip. I don't know that we need to talk. If you were here today, we could talk a little bit more about the feedback, but I think that there is plenty of feedback already in Zulip. So I don't know that we need to talk about them anymore unless anybody here has anything that they wanted to add. I know you were saying before, Martin, that you've done a little bit of promoting on LinkedIn and haven't used the graphics yet. So we need to get them cleaned up. We need a higher resolution version. Is that your point?
Well, we need the feedback acting on. I know sort of Jen sort of put a message on.
Yeah.
It would have been yesterday for you, just saying, yeah, we need the logo bigger and we need it aligned with the others. But yeah, I think I noticed the one on Facebook is a little bit blurry. And
Okay.
we do need like proper full resolution.
Okay.
So that they look good on social media.
I had used the first one on Twitter a couple of times, and I think it looks fine on Twitter. But I didn't, so I might have put it into Facebook without looking close enough. I think Facebook might use it a little larger than Twitter does. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I mean, I certainly felt comfortable using it. I think they look pretty good in a lot of ways, and even if we're still refining them, using a draft for me is better than nothing at all on Twitter, especially because I think Twitter is our primary place that we're getting social media. We're getting social media coverage. So just because I've used it there doesn't mean that we've settled on a final version yet. I've just went ahead and used the draft for now. Anyway, so I think that's enough on the logos. We could merge right into social media and see if there's anything more. I would say our social, before the meeting I mentioned we're at about 23, I think, registrations for Backdrop Live, which is, I don't think dramatically out of line with what we've had in some recent events at this stage. Although it's definitely, I think it's behind where we were for our last one. We had a total of about 70 people that registered for the last Backdrop Live. So we're only a third of that right now. Now we get quite a few people in the final week. It's when a lot of people register. So I'd like to see a real boost of activity, getting the word out. Although we've also talked about the fact we know a lot of our regular users are not available at this time of the summer. And it's so our expectations have to keep that in mind. But as I skim through the list of people, I'm seeing a nice mix, as usual, of names I recognize, as well as some names I don't recognize. So that's always a good thing to see some new people registering. So you did get some word out on LinkedIn, right, Martin?
Yeah, I think I'd try and do sort of any subsequent ones, sort of hook it around 1 or 2 items in the schedule. So I'm thinking of doing like a little thing just saying about the benefits of paragraphs and then pointing them towards your case study. As big, because I think for LinkedIn, I think it's important to sort of hook into the benefits that people can get, and then use that to use that as the message, and then say, well, here's where you can find out more. So that's something which I'll probably do either tomorrow or Saturday, and just so space them out. And as the schedule develops, I'll try and pick a couple of others to do a similar kind of treatment to, just try and find an angle and then point them towards that.
I agree that I think highlighting on particular topics is helpful. I'm trying something on Twitter that I haven't done before, which is I've got an ongoing Twitter thread where I try once a day to add a new topic to one Twitter thread, so that if anybody clicks on any one topic, they can quickly see the previous topics that I posted about. And I don't know if that's an effective strategy on Twitter. But I thought it was something worth trying. So,
so is that all in a single thread about Backdrop Live?
Well, I just
then adding to the conversation, or is it?
I just posted one tweet about an event like a week ago, or one particular topic, and then I've just been replying to that tweet.
Right.
So nobody else has commented on any of these. So I'm not adding to a conversation in that way, but it in Twitter speak, it would be like a one person conversation where I just keep replying to my to the backdrop.org account. The big advantage of it just is I don't know if like replies to messages get less juice than original messages, but the advantage is if anybody does see any particular message and they click on it, they're all linked together as one conversation. So it looks like a long list of topics. And we'll see if that helps. I would say I've been doing less Twitter than I did last time, just because my schedule's been too busy. I haven't had time to be on Twitter as much. I think Twitter is still one of our big outreach tools, that along with our email list. We have hit our email list a couple of times, and Jen and I talked about probably we'll hit the email list again tomorrow. The email goes out to about 2,000 people. Experience tells me we'll get we might get a handful after any email blast, but not a huge amount. I mean, we get like a 15 or 20% open rate, which I think is pretty decent. But in terms of registrations, it's usually a handful. A lot of the people that get the email and would register may be registered already. So if the only other area is Facebook, and I went ahead and got some stuff up on Facebook. If we have anybody that's watching the live stream and is active on Facebook, please help us out there. In any of these social medias, we need right now people to retweet or share our content. But I think more importantly, we need people to actually comment on it. That's what's really helpful. Is if you just retweet or share, that's one thing, but it's even better if you can make a comment and say, hey, I plan to go and this is why, or promote your own session or your own topic or anything you can do that's original. I think that's more likely to get people's attention. And obviously, one of our big goals is to reach new people, and we don't reach new people through our existing social media channels. We reach new people when the people we follow share and spread our content further. So we really, really need that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's sort of our social media update, and in terms of the newsletter, if anybody has any additional thoughts or feedback on social things that we could be doing, let us know. I would say I feel like our schedule's a little bit thinner than it was at this time at the last Backdrop Live. And I also think the schedule is a big thing that helps get people to register, right? We need to drive them to the website, to the schedule with our social media. But when people look at the schedule, if they see things, topics on there that interest them, they're more likely to participate. And we have this dilemma, which is we have an unconference event where people can add things to the topic right up through the day of the event. And that incentivizes for a lot of people to sort of wait till the last minute to just see what their schedule looks like and, be sure that they can commit to something. But when people wait till the last minute to add something to the schedule, we don't get the PR benefit of helping draw people in. And so we want that flexibility for people to add things to the schedule at the last minute, but we don't want everybody to take advantage of it. We need some people to get their things on the schedule early to help us build a rough schedule. And so I would say right now that would be really helpful. If you're planning to facilitate a topic and you think you can get it on the schedule, do it now. I would rather that people get something on the schedule and then change it later than just wait till the last minute. Because, for obvious reasons, that just the sooner we get things up there and people are able to see interesting topics, the more likely they are to register. So I will also just add that we added, one of the things we keep getting requests for is more structured presentations that are recorded. And we've added that, a block to the schedule for that. I don't know that we've gotten anybody other than myself that has offered to do one of those sessions. There's one session in that block, but I'm not sure. Oh, no, we do have, there's 3 sessions in that block right now. And 2 of them, one of myself and one that Justin did on solar, Lando, and Backdrop. I know that he's aware of that. The other one is marketing Backdrop CMS for large scale complex projects. And I'm not sure if the folks who scheduled that were aware. They've described it more like a regular discussion. So I'm not sure if they're planning to do a presentation or not. I need to check in with them. But my point is that while people keep asking for these more structured presentations, one of the reasons that we didn't go that route early on is because it's harder. It's the overhead of creating a presentation that is going to be recorded is greater. And we haven't been confident in our ability to flush out an entire schedule with those kinds of presentations. Also, I like the discussion format better personally. I would rather do that, but these are both reasons. And if we're going to do structured presentations, we need people to volunteer to do them. And that means a little bit more advanced. It could mean a little more advanced work, although a structured presentation could also be a live demo of something that gets recorded. So if you're lacking time, but you're I think a great presentation would be somebody doing a live demo of the new organic groups module that just got ported, or something like that. That would fit well in this percent of this part of the schedule. It would be something that would be really nice to have recorded. And if that's something you can do, think about that. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm just updating everybody. We also we had discussed just canceling the block D, which is the 4, 5, and 6 a.m. Central Time block that is like early afternoon on Saturday, or in Europe. Just because we've had no participation in the past, or very, very little participation. I went ahead and left it on the schedule. We still don't have any sessions, and it's a week before. So I'm inclined to do what we did last time, which is to go ahead and close off that block. Because I don't think we have enough time now to build up enough topics during that session. So if anybody feels strongly about trying to build content in that block, please let me know quickly. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and close that block off. I'm going to pause for a minute. Anybody have any thoughts or questions about the schedule? Joseph, I'm going to put you on the spot like I always do. I think you're available, right, to be at Backdrop Live. Is there a topic that you're thinking about?
I had no plans on doing anything other than showing up.
Okay. Can we convince you to facilitate a discussion with minimal preparation on a topic that interests you?
I will consider that after I can successfully restart my database server.
That's fair enough. And I understand that other people have other things going on in their lives. So, and Robert, it sounds to me like you said you're still not unsure of your schedule. So. Right?
Right.
Okay. Well, let us know if you can do something, but again, I understand. I have no doubt that we will get more topics as we get closer. I just really hoping at least a few people get them on the schedule sooner rather than later. Okay. Anything else? These are the big things. There's been a little bit of feedback on the site. Admittedly, our website is not as polished for Backdrop Live as I would like it to be, but I do feel like certainly behind the scenes we've made improvements each time we do it. The behind the scenes work is going down because we have more of a system in place, but there is still some awkwardness about some things. So but please give us feedback if there are things that are obviously strange about the website. I got some feedback. We had an FAQ that said no sessions were going to be recorded, and that's not true. Thanks to some feedback from one of our community members, we updated that FAQ. If you go to register and you have any feedback on the process or any inaccurate content, let us know. Is there any other something I want to do every Backdrop Live is have a more rigid schedule of sort of a greeter in particular that is available to be in the main room. So the way, if anybody's watching this on YouTube, I think everybody here knows how this works, but the way Backdrop Live works is we do use Zoom. We create a single Zoom room with breakout rooms for the individual discussions. So the main Zoom room serves as kind of the plenary hall and the hallway. People can, when they enter the Zoom room, they're not in it directly in an individual topic. They're just in the main room. And they can sort of chat and then find their way into their topic room. And this has worked pretty good in the past, but it works best if there's always somebody in that hallway paying attention. And sometimes I set up two computers so I can be in the hallway in one computer and in a session in another. But it's best if we have somebody that's sort of dedicated and focused on being in that hallway. And it would be great to have a schedule for the whole Backdrop Live with volunteers. But we've had trouble getting people to commit to that in the past. And to be honest, I'm not sure it's practical right now. But if you are able to commit to helping out in the hallway or just to think about it, that's a great way to help out on the day of the event, is just to, if there's particular blocks where you're not feeling strongly about participating in the topics, if you could volunteer to sort of hang out in the hallway Um, I know that when I do that, I sometimes have really good conversations and learn things from people just hanging out in the hallway, much the way I do at conferences. So one way to participate in Backdrop Live is to hang out in the hallway there and chat with people and answer questions uh, as they're entering. Anything else?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay. Well, let's just, so I don't know. There's other tasks that need to be done in terms of Backdrop Live, but in terms of talking during this meeting, I can't think of anything else. There are a few other things going on in terms of outreach that we could talk about briefly. Actually, what
else do you think needs?
I'd like for us to have some metrics that we could use to measure our success in terms of outreach. And I don't know that we spend much time on that. One of them that I look at frequently is the overall project usage. And I sometimes tweet about, no, I don't tweet about this a lot, but we talk or post updates in Zula. But I try to look every week and see how these numbers are doing, and they kind of fluctuate. We've been at around 2,100 sites for a while. And again, it kind of goes up and down, but there's definitely, I think, continues to be a trend upward. If we average this out, I'm pretty sure that we're still considering upward, but it's not going real fast. But if we think about Backdrop usage as a primary stat, which I think we should, if folks have ideas about this, feel free to let them know. Or other metrics we should be looking at. I do try to track like how we're doing in our Twitter, what kind of engagement we're getting with our Twitter feed. I think, Martin, you're probably looking at that a little bit on LinkedIn. And
yeah,
I'm not going to try to look at that right now live, although here's what I would like to do. It's a combination of social media and outreach. Is talk briefly about specific, social media remains our number one, I think, way of getting the word out about Backdrop Live. And the content and the manner in which we do that social media has an impact. The right, if a provocatively phrased a tweet will get 2 or 3 times the outreach, and we'll get a lot of retweets that we don't otherwise get. And just posting session topics doesn't get, frankly, to be honest, it doesn't get us a lot of retweets. So we don't get it's the primary thing I've been doing. I would love some ideas right now about specific messaging we could do in this final week before the launch that's a little bit original, could be a little bit provocative. Things that have I think taken off in the past are things like, if we post something about Drupal 7 end of life, that, but unfortunately, I've gotten a little uncomfortable talking about Drupal 7 end of life because we don't
feels like we're
we don't know if there ever will be an end of life the way things are. But so the tweeting something that is going to, appeal or get the attention of our audience and get retweets. It could be really helpful in terms of getting attention on Backdrop Live. Does anybody, is it premature to tweet from the Backdrop account something about entity reference? That might actually get a lot of our Drupal friends might latch onto that, like, oh, this is cool that they're doing this, and share that news. And if we could tie that to Backdrop Live a little bit, it could be something that gets some. I'm slightly nervous about it being premature because we haven't even merged it. On the other hand, I think that we're moving in that direction. It's our discussions are all public, so it's not that this is a behind the scenes thing. What do you think?
I probably wouldn't do it until we know it's going to be in a release. Until we know it's in an upcoming release.
The core committer has said that merging is imminent.
All right.
I mean,
who's the core committer?
Nate Lampton.
Nate Lampton. All right. Okay.
Actually, he said that in a leadership message, but it's also been discussed pretty clearly in the public developer meetings. But within the last couple of days, I heard the words come out of Nate's mouth, which is basically merging of this PR is imminent. Joseph or Robert, to either of you, I mean, we wouldn't say like it's merged, right? If I tweeted about it, I would say, we're very close to merging the entity reference module into core. Come learn about it at Backdrop Live or something.
Yeah, I kind of think it's reasonable to say this is planned to be in there, and we're very close to merging. It's far enough advance notice in front of the next major release that it's reasonable to tell people to encourage people to start getting used to it or look into it. And just following the Zulip and the GitHub conversations, it looks like it's going to happen. And your comment about Nate definitely makes it seem much more like it's going to happen. So yeah, I think that's good. Since Backdrop Live is the next one is going to happen quite after the release. This is good advance notice. So I'm in favor.
Well, yeah, and I mean, we always want to get as many eyes. I mean, part of the reason we want to get entity reference into the merged now and not 6 weeks from now is so that there's more time for people to test it in the dev branch.
Yeah.
It might be a good time. Well, I think I'll wait and do that after we now have the ability to spin up the dev branch on Tugboat. I don't know is everybody aware of that? I'd just be curious. A quick response to you guys.
I remember it being mentioned. I have to say I've never used it.
Well, let's do a really quick demo because this is particularly useful in cases like this where we've merged a major feature into the dev branch and we need help testing it. And it's gotten a lot easier to do that because of this new thing, which is if you click on Demo Backdrop, you're going to create this will create a sandbox with the latest stable release. If you want to do a dev branch, you click on More Ways to Try, and I hope I'm right. We scroll down here. There it is. Try out the latest changes on the Backdrops dev branch. So as soon as once the entity reference has been merged, you'll be able to come here, click on this link, which is warning you that you're about to test a dev branch. But look at here, we've even got a password. This is a dev site. But it allows you to just quickly spin up, get in and play with a dev version of Backdrop that will include the entity reference. And I don't know if everybody knows this. I didn't know this for a long time, but you can add contrib themes and modules to these dev sandboxes using the UI. So, it is possible to do some sophisticated testing with other modules of entity reference on one of these tugboat branches. The big downside is you've only got 24 hours to do that testing, right? The sandboxes only last 24 hours. But we're kind of in a position where we don't want to overemphasize this feature too much, because we don't want beginners who don't realize what they're doing to get into the dev site. Although, I use the dev site all the time in experimental projects, and I almost never run into any problems. So it's not, I don't think it's a big risk, but still we'd prefer to be serving up a stable version for somebody who's just evaluating Backdrop. And that's still what this button does. So we want to make people aware of that other option, but we don't want to confuse them. So can I get any other help on, I'd like to get something. So if we get something slightly provocative about Drupal and Drupal 7, that's always it gets us some attention. And I'm not saying anything mean or anything, but we sometimes try to walk a line between saying anything that's too aggressive in terms of like Drupal sucks, move to Backdrop, right? We're not into that kind of messaging, and a lot of us don't believe that. But there's something short of that, which is this would be a good time for us to be tweeting out messages about checking out Backdrop as a good upgrade option for Drupal 7 sites. And is there a fresh way we can say that or tweet about it that we haven't done before that would get attention? I don't think entity reference helps us there, because they have the reference module in Drupal, right? As far as we know in Drupal 9. I'm pretty sure that the entity or that reference module is already in Drupal, so we can't claim to be ahead of the curve or anything on that. Joseph or Robert, do you know for a fact? Am I right or not?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I think the selling point is whether or not it's in Drupal 9 or 10. It's the upgrade barrier
Right.
is the biggest discriminator, and we've lowered that barrier further for upgrading the Backdrop. It's still there for upgrading from Drupal 7 to 9.
Right. Well, I'm looking for short snippets that I can put in a tweet.
It looks like
Go ahead.
It looks like entity reference is in Drupal 9's core directory.
Yeah, I thought so. So, I mean, that doesn't mean we don't tweet about it, but I just can't promote it as like an advantage over Drupal.
Right.
But it is, we want to get the attention of Drupal 7 users. So something that getting some tweet ideas that that certainly reference or compare us to Drupal 7 is good. And again, it's I've done it before. I'm looking for fresh angles. Is there anything that we have done recently to improve? Well,
I mean, maybe there is. Maybe there's one thing you mentioned with the end of life, in that we just don't know when it's going to be. But maybe there is an angle that there is this kind of there's a nervousness. There's also gradually modules are becoming unsupported, so functionality is going down.
Right.
So I don't know if there's an angle of well, it might be extended, it might not. But I know there's been a few modules on the sites where luckily they've not been critical modules, where I've had to uninstall them because they're no longer supported. So that there might be, we'd have to come up with an innovative way of messaging it.
Well, one angle would be this discussion. I'm trying to find it, that Indigo Zello recently re-raised, that there is that discussion going on in background or in the Drupal forum about Drupal Classic. And I mean, I to be honest, I think a great PR move would be for us to do sort of a session on, you know, is Backdrop Drupal Classic or not, right? Not to say that we are. There's definitely people in that thread who are, you know, their complaint is that Backdrop isn't enough like Drupal 7, that it's too different, and that the upgrade process is too hard. And they're advocating that Drupal 7 just stay available as a Drupal, as Backdrop or Drupal Classic. And I think if we were to like facilitate a discussion on that and tweet about it, that would get some attention. But I don't know how to tweet about it unless it's on the schedule, and I'm not sure if I should add it to the schedule because I'm already facilitating like 6 topics. How do people feel about that? Trying to find the.
I just put the link in the chat log for the.
Oh, thank you. I can now find the chat log. In my.
I think whoever does it probably needs to have a certain amount of experience of doing Drupal 7's backdrop upgrades, and I can't say that I have.
Well,
so I just think
what we could try to do is talk quick Nate into leading a discussion on this. I'd want to go read back and look at what he posted here. But actually, if Nate were to lead this discussion, that would make it even more provocative. Provocative, not in a negative way, but provocative in terms of, and you know, I don't know, provocative is the right word, but interesting, sensational. Those are all too strong, you know, but something that's going to get people's attention. I think I'm going to bring it up, assuming Nate's there in the dev meeting, and see if this is something we might want to do. Is directly tackle this issue during Backdrop Live, and see. I can see people from the Drupal community coming just for that discussion, because this is obviously a big discussion in the Drupal community.
Yeah.
Is what is the future of Drupal 7? And we could talk about it in a more direct way at a Backdrop event, maybe then, or certainly attract the people that are interested in that. And it could be get us some attention. Does anybody see a downside to this?
I mean, if it becomes really, if you get some people who are really anti, it could become quite it might become too antagonistic.
I'm highly skeptical that in a face-to-face Zoom meeting, anybody would be so anti that it got that controversial. I think most of the people that are in this debate, while they might be saying some controversial things in print, if you got them in a room face-to-face, they would be pretty chill. And I think it could be a really good discussion. I mean, it's not that you're not wrong. There is some risk of it getting controversial, but I don't think it's that big or getting, dangerously controversial.
I suspect that the problem we might run into on that is that the opposite. It's that the people we actually want to talk to about this are just not going to come because they've already decided backdrop's not for them.
So, I mean, yes
But
and no.
I don't really know what we do about that because that seems to be
Right.
the problem every single time.
Well, again, I would go into this with realistic expectations, which is that we're not, I don't expect Rees to show up. I don't expect, major decision makers in the Drupal community. But to me, success doesn't mean that we necessarily get to them. It means that we just get some, we do have friends that are on the board, the Backdrop board, that are very interested and supportive of Backdrop, and they might show up at something like this. Or we just get people that are involved in this discussion. This Joseph Olstad is really leading this discussion in the Drupal thing, and he seems pretty convinced that Backdrop just won't serve his needs. And maybe we could get him to come, and we could talk to him about whether or not it does meet his needs, and either clarify why he doesn't think it meets his needs, or convince him otherwise. And to convince somebody like him that maybe it does meet their needs, that could be a bit of a PR win, right? And I think he would, he wouldn't have a reason not to come. I think he's pretty vocal in this argument. If we said, hey, this is what we want to talk about. In fact, I would be inclined to reach out to him directly and invite him. We should wrap up. It's time for the next meeting. Did anybody else join us yet? Sarvashri, how long have you been here?
I think he just showed up. I think I
Okay.
just saw his name up here.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting, if that's okay. Bye, everybody. I'm going to stop sharing. Bye for this meeting. See some of you at the next meeting. And let's end the recording.